Friday. It is a little bit murky here today. It's not the best of days, but it's nice and cool. It's been a little warm here in Western New York. Um, Ken, how has things been for you?
Well, it's the week kind of flew by, but
Yeah,
I'm well. Things are good.
nice and warm where you are, I assume.
It's still pretty warm. It's been very pleasant. This is a really lovely time of year in
Oh
North
yeah,
Carolina.
nice. All right, so let's see. Today, oh, I forgot to put my little screen. I'm gonna get the where do I present here? Click the button, make it smaller because PowerPoint always wants to make it as gigantic as possible. And then make sure it looks good, put it on the screen, bam. Why are we here? We are going to take a look at the zrok SDK. It's always interesting when Friday rolls around, Ken, because I need to make these little slides and I get terrified that I'm going to have a typo in there because I'm pretty sure I've done it before. I've also pasted the wrong thumbnail into the live streams before and stuff like that. So maybe that's what it's all about, right? We're here just having fun. I'm going to look at the zrok SDK. I'm glad I don't have a typo in there because zrok is easy to mistype and still think that you're doing all right. But I have personally not looked at the zrok SDK. It's been on my long list of wonderful, cool things that I want to do. But of course, there's other things that have been more important. So I just haven't looked at it, and I thought, hey, I don't know if we've seen the zrok SDK on Ziti TV. I don't think we have. It's relatively new, and so I thought this would be a nice Ziti TV. So that's what we're gonna do. That sounds exciting, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flop on over to the wonderful blog post that our good friend Mr. Michael Quigley made. So you can come out here. It's teensy tiny, but let me put this into the. Oh, we put it in the chat.
Seems like a
Bam.
reasonable place to start.
That's a good spot, right? Look at us being all professional streamers. So there's a link to the actually. Oh, I can even show it, can't I? Oh, it even looks really nice right there. Yeah, blogs open Ziti.io, the zrok SDK. So check out that blog post. This is basically what I'm going to go through right now, and then we'll see how far I get, and we'll see what it's about, and we'll just have some fun. I've literally never seen it before, and I'm somewhat terrified of that aspect of things because I don't know what I'll get myself into, but I also think that is part of the fun of never having seen it before. You get some nice live feedback from somebody who's never seen the SDK and see what we stumble on. Maybe we can make it better. All right, so that's the idea. All right, so let's take a look at the blog post. Crazy, simple, secure peer-to-peer ingress. I don't know. I don't think I have the SDK, the zrok utility for my PowerShell. Unexpectedly, I have begun to use PowerShell from my Windows environment. I tend to run WSL because Bash has been a comfortable place for me for numerous decades now. And so I use Bash all the time. But I wanted to use PowerShell. That's another experiment that I'm trying here. And so if I make a mistake in PowerShell, you can maybe tell me, a better way to PowerShell
I won't
too.
be any help.
You're not a PowerShell guy? Oh, that's shocking, Ken.
Not on
Shocking.
a good day.
Well, you can get PowerShell for that Linux machine now, right?
Yeah, I'm amazed by that, but
Yeah,
it's
I
true.
was. It works pretty well too. Actually, let's show that real fast since we're just having fun here. Bring up my Ubuntu WSL instance.
Is it
If I
literally like
type
yum
pw
install PowerShell?
pwsh, and then you get what looks like a PowerShell prompt. You can do all these crazy get commands that
Yeah.
are just horribly named. Like they couldn't name it something simple like grep. No, it's like get. It's like select string or something along those lines. It's craziness.
I've
Anyway,
always thought it's probably powerful. I'll learn it if I need to, but that just
and
hasn't
then
happened
and
yet.
then you never need to. Yeah, exactly. So let's see. I was going through the process of off screen here. I am downloading a new zrok release, in a location, and it's at my temp folder. And so I should be able to tar xvf zrok. What's it called? Oh, of course it went away. Zrok. Come on. Zrok underscore 0.4.6. 0.4.6. That, and then I'm going to go to my user profile, $env user pro, no, just user profile. Thank you very much. And then make a dir called zrok, c to zrok, and then cp c:temp zrok. Is there a exe in there? There is, to here on this zrok, and see what the version is. Make sure that I have version 4. I do. Now I'm going to go over to zrok.io and make sure I am logged in and enable my environment. If you've actually not zrok.io, I want to go to api.zrok.io. If you haven't been to the website, that's what the website will look like. You can see Ziggy floating on the screen. I'm going to go to api.zrok.io because on here I need to enable my environment, which I will not be doing on screen because it is a secret. So I'll do that over here. I'll paste it and I will enable this environment. I got to find where zrok, and I don't have zrok on my path, so I'm going to have to make sure I put it on my path too. I've already gotten an environment because I do play with zrok from time to time. Disable. And now enable. All right, let me rm.zrok. Zrok. And then enable zrok. Come on. There it goes. Contacting the zrok service. The environment has been successfully enabled. Cool. So now, if I bring up the actual api.zrok.io, you'll see I've got a whole bunch of zrok enabled doodads. A couple of them are from the same machine, this SG3U22. That would be my Ubuntu instance. So yeah, I've got zrok enabled. Let's make sure I cleared that terminal. Very cool, I did. Hopefully, you know what happens if I type zrok? Does it, oh, I gotta somehow delete my history. I gotta Google how to delete PowerShell history command. I have, every time I type zrok, it's gonna show you my, my zrok enable. And I don't want that. Clear history, zero. Oh man, that did not work. Maybe I'll make a brand new shell. Will that do it? If I delete this, otherwise, oh my goodness, I gotta find my history. Okay, well, this is going to be this is annoying. I've got to find the location of the history. Get history. Sorry about this. I don't want to show my zrok enable command. Clear PowerShell command line expansion. Let's go to the history. Oh, this is not riveting, Ziti TV Ken. Maybe you can take a look at the UI and start going through it while I figure out how to, not the UI, but the README, the blog post, I mean. And just start going through it a little bit and give it a little bit of background while I try to figure out how to.
There's a clear history PowerShell command.
Yeah, I ran that and it did clear my history, but when I type zrok, a little grayed out, enable, and it tells me, it shows you my actual token, and I can't have that. ls zrok. It just has the last command. I just need to know what the what that thing, so like if I do this clear, I'll show you my screen here. If I do a oh my goodness, all right, I'm gonna have to disable this environment and re-enable it. I just showed it. Oh man, what am I gonna do now, Ken? All right, well, I'll deal with that later. Where am I going? Now I'm all flustered because I had it was shown on the screen there, so people can go back and use my zrok instance. If you type zrok, see how it's got that little gray right there?
Yeah.
But I can't get rid of that little history. It won't matter now, though, because I've already shared it. So the damage is done. We'll have to dip this account and figure it out afterward. Whatever. Let's go back and look at the not the blog post is what I was looking at before. blog.openzd.io, the zrok SDK. Here we
All
are.
right, so let's start over with the rationale. Why are we like what can you do in the real world with the Zrok SDK?
Well, I actually don't know that yet. That's why I wanted to read the blog.
Well, the
I've
tagline
gotten.
is like ingress for your application.
Is that what it says? Let's see. It's crazy simple, crazy secure, peer-to-peer ingress for your applications.
So I guess it's
Yeah,
like if you've got an app and it takes network connections, it accepts network connections, and you want to make that available either publicly or privately, you can do that with Zrok.
yeah. And so zrok, of course, does that just like ngrok. If you're familiar with ngrok, it's one of these kind of tools. It obviously it's a open source project though, since it's in the OpenZD umbrella. Totally self-hostable as well. And there is a SaaS offering, and that's the one I'm using here so that I didn't have to stand it up myself. So you can go out and sign up for Zrok today. And if you think it's cool, give us a star because we always appreciate those GitHub stars. But it will allow you to create not only a public share that anybody can access from anywhere in the world by just running a Xerox share, but it also lets you create a private share so that Ken and I can share privately. So if in
Right.
fact, I probably should set that up and just comment on. Let's see, let me put a dollar env path equals dollar env path, not temp, but I want users Clint Xerox, not the name of a commandlet. It's got to be in quotes, maybe. And Xerox. All right, cool. So like if I'm on this machine, I type Zrok test. Is it test? Start a simple endpoint. I can do that. And so Xerox comes with its own self bootstrapping test endpoint. Doesn't give you any information that it's running right here. But now what's going on is there is a new window. So if I come down here and I curl to http://localhost:9090, I believe. Yeah, you'll see it accepted some. It's just a website that does something. So I have something listening on localhost 9090 now. I can go to
Right.
Xerox share public
And you get stuff.
localhost 9090. I can put it on my path. Oh boy, let me go get that command that I just ran and put it on my path. Run it. Now anybody out there in the world is able to get here because it is a public share. And
Right.
did I turn off my test, didn't I?
Sure. It couldn't be easier. But you might want Zrok if you want to be like in the ZD ecosystem and branch out to take a zero trust approach to everything and just have like more control and flexibility and be self-hosted.
Yeah, for sure, right? This is it's a crazy useful tool. I use it all the time to share files between people that are too big to send over Slack or, in our case, Mattermost or whatever. I've also used it to instead of SCPing a file somewhere, I wgetted them from a Xerox share. And so there's my little test endpoint. And so that was really easy. Anybody watching could have hit that endpoint at the same time. And so that's basically the idea. In fact, I think I'm going to leave my test endpoint running just in case it's useful. I don't know. But
All right.
that's the benefits, or that's the benefits. That's the short 1 minute primer on what Xerox does. I didn't want to go into what Xerox is too much, but it is a good point. A little bit of context is helpful. And so here's the Xerox SDK. New features in Xerox 4. Actually, don't even remember what the new features were. There's another blog post. Oh yeah, 2CP and UDP
So the
tunnels.
summary in the introduction for the SDK is basically saying all the you can either share network connections or files with the SDK the same way that you can with Zrok.
You can share say that again?
Like it's for publishing stuff. It's for sharing stuff. So if your application generates files or if it has a server of some kind, then you can make that available with the Xerox SDK instead of using a
Well,
traditional simple network connection.
well, no, I think this is actually embedding Zero Trust into your application itself in a quick and easy way. That's what this is trying to do. So this assumes that you are writing the server side, and it assumes that you are writing the client side, and you want to securely connect your client to your server. That's what the Xerox SDK does, and it just the Xerox SDK, I think, again, I haven't looked at it yet. I think it's going to automate basically the little command that I just ran manually and allow me to do things like sharing from the SDK itself. So I wanted to get into the Go code instead of reading through this, but I haven't actually gone and done it. And so looking through the blog post here, I can see we have an example called paste bin. We got a source. We got some source to look at.
Yeah, there you go. That's the only example in the repo, so we should probably start with that one.
All right. Well, that should be easy enough then. So let's just take a look. Go away. Let's see, what is it doing? All right. Read some args. Loads your environment. So environment, I am imagining, is going to be coming from zrok environment. Load root, which probably is the default, right? It's going to, whatever user is running, it's going to go and find your environment for zrok and use
there is
that.
a README for this as well in the same dir.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's look. Let's get rid of these two things. It is not in the same dir. How about in pastebin back here? Yeah. Pastebin's a minimal zrok SDK, implements a wormhole that makes redirecting file contents between zrok environments very easy. Pastebin split into two separate commands. The copy to command takes a copy buffer from standard input and use it like this. Yeah. And then in another terminal, you can access your pastebin data like this. So, oh, that's cool. So you put some contents into the bucket using zrok, and then you get them out of the bucket using some token that is returned to you from zrok. It
Looks like a private share token.
Yeah. The copy to implementation's very easy. Let's see, loads the data, loads the root. Yeah, that's cool. The root is a structure that contains all of the user's environment detail. Yeah. Next, copy to creates a zrok share. This is what I was looking for. Thanks for this. This is actually useful. We can go through this. Create the share. All right. So that's the same thing as what I did before, where I created a share. It's share mode.
Share with tunnel backend mode.
Its share mode is private. It is using TCP. And then that's it. I mean, that seems far too simple. So okay, so that's just creating the share. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Along with root, SDK request. For the pastebin application, we're going to use TCP tunnel backend mode. Using private share, we'll set the target to be pastebin. It's just metadata describing the application. So where is pastebin coming from? So that, I imagine that's what we are terming it, right? That's this pastebin thing that we are inventing. I don't know has it been declared prior? I don't know if this is the first time pastebin is actually declared anywhere. Target right there.
The create share method on the SDK interface has the target.
Yep. So here, I guess, is where we are declaring what the target we want to use is. Okay. And then SDK new listener establishes a new network listener for the newly created share. The listener works just like a net listener. Next, by the way, Golang, if you haven't used it for communications like this, it is absolutely has the best abstractions for allowing zero trust connectivity and zero trust implementations like OpenZiti. The whole net listener, netcon is just such a nice, clean abstraction. I'm envious and appreciate the effort that went into building the Golang standard library. A lot of times you find most of the things that you want are just right there. Sometimes you've got to go reinvent the wheel, but most of the time, some of the interesting stuff like this is just there, ready to be innovated on. So really do appreciate that. Next, we're going to look at a shutdown hook. So that copy to will delete the share when the application is terminated. Okay. Anonymous function runs for waiting for a signal to exit. And then we accept a connection, and we handle it. Okay, pastebin application similar to copy to. The only difference is that it dials the service. So it makes a new dialer and then share token. So we have to give the dialer the share token. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that seems pretty simple. It seems like it's excessively short amount of code to create a wormhole, as he calls it here. Like, there's not a lot to that. That's
Just
cool.
shuttling bytes back and forth.
Yep. I mean, look at the implementation. It's like 70 lines. No, it's 50 lines.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Let's see. Here's what the copy to utility looks like in action. We've piped it to, oh, wow. Yep. All right. Yeah, we kind of covered all of this. We know what it's doing. I want to actually do it. Let's look at the implementation. Oh, we just kind of run through all of this. Yep, environment load, blah, 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 paste from. Yep, we kind of went over all of this. Whoops, what does that do? That's funny. Just the SDK SDK. Okay. I want to actually run it. I guess I got to go back to here to see how to run it. It wants me to create it first. I guess I just got to go build it. All right, well, let's just go build it. I got to, actually, I don't have zrok checked out, so I need to check out the zrok library.
I guess it uses the same environment configuration as the CLI if you don't specially configure it.
Well, that's the load root function that you saw. Right. Load root right there. That's going to be looking at your user's directory. Let's make a dir called zrok copy pastebin.
Probably
demo.
honors the home environment variable the same way that, well, you're in PowerShell now, so I don't know what it's going to do.
Well, it uses Go, which is nice, and so it's going to just use the home directory. I'm sure that it's going to work just fine. Ziti zrok, and then we're going to go to, where is this directory? Zrok, not tree main, examples, SDK examples pastebin. SDK examples. Yep, pastebin. All right, go. I have a alias called gob. Go build // . I don't like typing all of that, so this will make a directory called build for me, and it will compile the project into the build directory. That's the way I do my Go building because I don't like to use Go install. I want to know where my executable's coming from and where I'm running it. So hopefully somebody out there has gone and signed up for zrok, and maybe we'll be able to do some copy to and pasting too here. Maybe you can, Ken. Are you following along too?
Yeah, I'm gonna set up, if you set up the copy to, I'm gonna set up the paste from.
Okay. Who requires input from? Oh, I
Which
wonder how.
instance are you on? Is your environment on?
I
Which
only
is
use the SAS one, API dot
the main
zero.
one? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll set up on that. I've got an environment for that as well, so I'll be able to receive it.
All right. So let's see. If I go back and I look at the directions, they're instructing me to do this in a bash way. Where did my instructions go? Copy to. Right there. Echo, pipe it into copy to. So will that work? Echo, hi there, pipe it to copy to. Access your paste bin using paste from. So presumably somebody should now be able to go and build the temp, not the sample, use that token which I put into chat. And, I'll even I'll highlight it so that people can copy it if they want. Temp, I'm going to run it myself. Paste bin demo zrok SDK examples paste bin. And I want to run paste from. So build paste from. Yep. Right there. Boom. All right. And that is now available. So you should be able to paste from yourself. Well, that was neat. I mean, that's the whole entire demo. So like that's super fast. I'm going to let you get yours paste bin or paste from working, and then I'm going to try it myself. I want to try yours too. or if anybody out there has one running, put it in the chat and we'll try it out.
I have a paste from command now. I'll set my home directory like that, and now I should have cool. So should be able to say paste from, and then the token.
Oof, too small.
Hi there.
I'm just playing around with the presentation.
Did it work? Is that what you sent?
Oh, that's what I sent. Yes. Hi there. Yeah, I was hoping that you would put one up too, and I can try to paste from yours. Or how do I focus this back? Oh, this is what I wanted. You rebuilding?
I'm building the copy to command.
Oh, you didn't build the wall. I see.
Done.
In the meantime, while you're doing that, I'm going to open my GoLand up. I'm going to open the project. So I'd rather look at it in an editor. Open. Let's see. If I can open it.
Okay, I just posted my token in the chat.
It's hard to copy. I'm going to just type it. There it goes. It's from EF30UKEI44HR. Access not found. Interesting. Did I type it wrong? EF30. Is it a 0 or an O? Oh, it's a little O. That's why. OUKE. Yourself.
There you go. And on my side, it doesn't show that you accessed it, but it's still there. I guess you could access it multiple times. You could extract the same bytes, the same payload.
Yep. Well, now let's look at what this is. I mean, I can't look at what this is doing, can I? Because this is using the zrok API, and I don't have access to that OpenZD instance. And I don't have my self-hosted environment up and running either. So I should have set that up ahead of time so I could actually inspect this, because that was one of the things I wanted to do. I'm interested to know what is this actually doing in the zrok SDK. So actually, I think I'm going to just go and dive into that SDK and see what it does. And let's see, there's my README. I don't think I can make this any bigger. I can't imagine this is legible, is it, Ken?
Just pulling up your screen now on the share. I would need to zoom in to see it. I can, if I zoom into it, if I make it bigger, I can see it. At normal size, it's a little tough.
I'm going to, no, not enable ligatures. I want to make it bigger. Where do I embiggen this? There it is. 18, click the apply button. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You think that's pretty good? That's reasonable?
Yeah.
We can stay, I can make it bigger.
Yeah, I can read that even.
And embiggen it one more time.
Size.
All right, not 120. Oh my! I'm gonna go to
So
20.
I did another example with the copy to command, and I got the bytes from a file. It just works with standard input. So anything you can shove into standard in gets loaded into the buffer.
It's pretty, and it's. I wonder if it's read each time. Like if you modify the file, does it change? I assume it doesn't,
I
but
doubt
that
it.
would be
But it's
interesting
easy
if
to
it's.
test in this terminal if you want to.
Yeah.
But
Let's see. So we're going to look at SDK and examples and copy to and main. So here is the main function for the copy to. Let's go look at what load root does. Oh, look at this. You're going to make a couple of different, depending on how old your zrok is, you got to read it from a certain location versus another location, or invoke a certain function versus a different function. Nice. So that, let's go. Actually, I wanted to go into, I probably have 4. So this is going to be calling if root exists, load the metadata, load the config, load the environment, and load environment probably ends up calling on the actual Ziti SDK somewhere. Unmarshals the JSON, gets this information. Oh, it's not Ziti yet. It's still zrok. So that makes sense. All right. So that gets you your zrok environment, puts that in your environment here. I'm trying to find where it actually goes and instructs the zrok controller to do a thing, right? So somehow we've created this tunnel between your and my computers, both of which are rendezvousing effectively through the zrok API. And so I'm trying to find, how did this code instruct the controller, my particular environment? How did it instruct that environment to go through and do a thing? And what is the thing that it does? That's kind of what I'm looking for. If I go back to, it's going to be under create share. So I'm going to create share. Environment is enabled. Share mode is private. New share, new private share. And then it calls share request. CD identity. Share mode, backend mode, the target. And what does this look like? Just some JSON. And then auth scheme. So we take the Ziti identity is clearly in the zrok config file and passed in as part of the environment. And then that's used apparently to create a share request through the zrok authentication, the zrok REST endpoint. I kind of want to know what share request does though. I'm interested. That'll be in the controller, I would assume. We'll see if it is. Let's see, how am I going to find that function? Need to find something like a router or whatever that knows how to process a share request. To a model. Let's see where this is used. Share.go, main.go. The UI makes this a bit challenging because it's so gigantic. Create a share, SDK create a share, share request. That's where I was, right? All right. zrok share. It's an interface. We'll find the implementation. Yeah, how do I find the router for these things? This is one of those things that I do one time and then promptly forget about exactly how it's ever done. But I would imagine somewhere there is a function that is responding. It's not going to be an Edge API. ERP. I wish Galen would show me the file it's in. Where is the file name? Is this in? No, okay, so this is the controller. All right. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Delete edge router policy. Service. File share. Create share service. Where is this mapped? Private. Share params handle. That's why I couldn't find it, because it's called handle. So it's going to be a share handler. That's why I couldn't find it. There we go. Okay. Tracked it back finally. All right. I wanted to see what this thing was doing in the OpenZD world. So create a share token. No. I want to be able to know. I want to know how it actually reads the token. Like, where does it get the token from? That sounds interesting. Oh, hi, Michael. You can watch me stumble through this. See, what time is it? 11:36. We got a few minutes to stumble some more. All right. So handle. That's right. I was looking for where handle was. When usage was filtered out. Why was it filtered? Serve HTTP handler. Where was I was somewhere where I had just found where the API functions were all declared. Where I was. I'm doing it at 10, I almost said 1024 by 768. Doing it at 1080p is also a challenge when I've zoomed into gigantic proportions, especially exploring code that you're not familiar with at, what is it? I mean, it's funny is like I get like 48, it puts like 25 lines on the screen. That's all you used to get anyway, is just, I should stop complaining. All right, go back to the share. New internal server error. Nope.
Did you look at the SDK package?
No. So I'm interested in what zrok is doing to Ziti, because somewhere along the lines in the controller here, the zrok controller is communicating to the OpenZD controller in order to modify the overlay network settings to permit you and me to do what we just did, right? So there has to be some policy somewhere that says this token, anybody who has this token has the ability to access this particular service. And so my identity is somewhere, and my identity is, since this is built on OpenZD, you have an identity, I have an identity. And the act of providing the token back to zrok has somehow authorized my identity to host or, let's see, I would be binding the service. Yeah, I can bind the copy to service, and you can dial the paste from service, and those two things know how to communicate to the correct service. So actually, it's probably a key, which is this share token is likely the name of the service. That would be my guess, right? So you're telling zrok you want to dial this service name, and zrok says, well, if you know the service name, you're permitted to dial the service because that is the shared secret. And then it authorizes your identity to dial my service. It's either that, or zrok is more promiscuous with its service capabilities, allowing anybody to dial any service if you simply know the name of it.
We have the
That's what I was
identity from
looking
the
for.
environment. We could query the client API to see what services are available.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Michael says, when an access is created, it creates a dial policy for the share and service. Yep. Cool. All right. Let's go back to where was I spelunking? We were trying to figure out just what the code looks like for where the SDK actually creates the share. All right. So controller share. So we're going to come in. I'm going to make a private share because that's the one we're doing. We're going to make a new private resource allocator, and we're going to allocate the Ziti environment ID, which I believe is a Ziti identity, a share token, and then edge is probably, it's a client, zrok edge SDK. right, so this is going to be a share private. Yeah. Okay. Environment ID. Where's this being used? Oh, come on. GoLand, I'd hope you would help me out a little bit more than that. I really do not love the new GoLand UI. Seems like a toy. Create a config. Here we are. Create a config, create a share service, create a service policy for bind, and create a share service edge router policy. Aha! So we found it. Here we are. It's in the share private Go file in the controller, and it's called allocate. And there we go. Now we can see what it's doing. When I am passing that private share, this is what happens. It creates a config for my share. It creates a service, obviously, creates a policy for that service, and creates an edge router policy for that service. Well, that's cool. That makes sense. Let's see what create config does. I wonder what the config looks like. Is there anything special? Like, is there some sort of interesting thing that he's doing inside of? Oh, look at it! He even told me. Ha! I found it. I didn't need you to tell me, but thank you. Yep. Look at allocate. Exactly. That's right where it is. I mean, obviously he knows. So now I'm looking at create config because I'm interested to see if there's some sort of config that is added to this service, which is then referenced and used. No, I appreciate it though, Michael. I do. So we're at the, yeah, I wanted to see if I could figure out what kind of config goes in here. So we're creating a config type ID. So it's these three things are strings. That's a string 2. Interesting that one's called out separately. Config type ID, environment, Ziti ID, share token. And so config type ID, where is this thing used in here? Oh man, I really do not. Is it used? Oh, right there. So now it's creating, okay, REST, there we go. Now, here we are. We're manipulating the OpenZT overlay network using REST model, which is a package that I'm familiar with because I've used it for writing tests before. It is creating the config, obviously a function that's going to create a config in the OpenZT model itself, named whatever your name is based on the share token, like we were talking about before. And then zrok share tags. Ooh, interesting use of tags being applied here. Tags, of course, are on, I think it's every OpenZT object. You can add your own tags. So adding some tags to this thing. Creating config params. Timeout, creating config. Now, I wanted to see that, what the content of the, is this not users? That's some JavaScript. That's some JSON. No, that's a structure. Never mind. Looks like JSON immediately, but it wasn't. Where is the config used? I wanted to find that. Oh, this is creating the config. No, this is the config type. It's passed in. So there's going to be a config in here somewhere. What am I missing? Auth scheme, create config. There it is. Data. That's what I was looking for. Oh, okay. Well, that's simple. Not too much in there. Nothing crazy. Config. The auth scheme is basic. All right. Well, that's cool. That makes sense. So the dialer is going to be told if what the auth scheme is, and if the auth scheme is basic, it's going to expect you to supply the basic username and password. Makes perfect sense. Cool. Well, I mean, that's like I'm already at 40. I could keep going for hours just exploring here. I was almost going to try writing my own program. I mean, in fact, let's do that. Let's make our own and see what happens. Let's do it. Let's see. So I need a new. Do I need a new project? Yeah, I probably should have a new. Yeah, I just make it right here. New directory, and we'll call it. Let's do it, because that's what Ken said. We'll make a new Go file. We'll call it main.go. No, we don't need you to add that. Thanks. Main, and Oh my goodness, I can never remember. Like this is one of those things I only do once in a great while. What does the main function even look like on Go? I don't even remember. My goodness, that's embarrassing. Where is the main function? Come on. Not a init, not a run. Should have just had Go emit it for me. It'll probably do that, won't it? All right, let's go to ChatGPT and ask it. Go main function. I think it's just func main, right? Yeah, it's just func main. All right, so here we are. So now we need to include the Golang SDK. So what is the package for that? Let's go back. Let me bring up the, where's the copy to example. Hello. I didn't, oh, it's because it's called main. Just steal out these right here. We're going to need both of those. Put them in an import statement. Okay, so that's those two things. I'm going to want to load my environment. So I'm going to probably just steal most of the stuff that he's got right here. It seems like it makes perfect sense. I'm probably going to steal create. Steal that. New listener. Make a channel. Maybe I'll steal it all. I'll steal it all. Good. It's a good place to start. I've got no load data. Why is there a load data? Okay, yep. I don't care about that. That's not going to be my thing. And then where is data used? Data was used down here. Okay. First, I got to load the environment. Yep. Next, I got to make a share. So now I wonder, can I make, I mean, I see public and private. Can I make a public one with no backend mode? Let's see, what kind of backend modes do we have here? We got caddy, web, proxy, and tunnel. What happens if I don't supply one? Will it complain at me? Let's find out. Let's see. So now, how much care do I need to take as a consumer? I know I read from the blog post that I need to clean up after myself. So I could probably go through and pollute my own environment. And so what I'm going to just do is I'm going to comment all this code, and I'm going to just explore the way I would normally do this kind of stuff if it was just me doing this. Any other comments or people asking questions? All right, so I'm going to make a share. I'm going to delete a share. I think that seems reasonable. Put a breakpoint in here. I've already got a paste bin. I'm interested what happens if I run it twice. I got a couple errors. Where's my errors? Yes, I know. Oh, how do I? No, I really want that keyboard binding. Keyboard binding I want is where I middle click and drag. It allows me to operate on the entire row. So like a lot of times I'll comment everything out like that. But in other things like Notepad++, I can do a shift and an alt. And what it will do is it will actually let me not have to use the mouse, right? I'm a very anti-mouse sort of individual. I like not having
Once
to use
you're
the mouse,
committed to the keyboard.
and I also like not having to use VI either. So like with Notepad++, I can do this is all the same stuff, you know. So I want that binding, but Visual Studio and GoLand don't seem. Actually, it was Rider. That's why it doesn't support it, because I was using Rider. Don't seem to support it. So let's just see what happens if we run it again. I don't need this format. I just want to. I want to see what happens if I make it. It should panic. I imagine it'll panic, telling me that it's already created. So let's go ahead and just debug this and see what happens. I'm also interested. I took out the back end mode. I want to see if there's a default. I wonder if the Go doc will tell me if there's a default. Well, the Go doc's not going to tell me if there's a default. All right. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Create the share. Yep. 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 And hopefully error. Yep. And what's the error? Oh, this clown level of zoom. Unable to create the share. Cause no real reason. Okay. I imagine it is duplicate is the reason is the actual reason. Oh, I don't want to stop and rerun. I want to continue. Play it on through. Yeah, I don't want to pause at panics either. Oh well. That's another thing. I'll just change this panic to if you're logging here, error, fatal. That's what I want. There we go. Okay. Well, let's do a paste bin 2. Delete a share. Oh, it's taking an object share request. I see. So if I wanted to delete a share by its identity, I'd have to find it first. What does a share look like? How do I find a share? To look into that. Let's see. SDK.create share. Nope. That's what we wanted to find a share. Nope. List shares. How do I find a share? Delete. Doesn't appear as I can find one. Maybe it's just a different vernacular. Delete. Look at access. Would access find it? How would I? Is there a way to find a share so I can know that if I've created it, or is the idea that I need to try creating it and see what happens?
Well, I was looking at the API and I authenticated with the certificate that I got from my Zrok environment so I could see what's in there. And if I do
look
a
at you.
copy to command, then I do get a bind permission on it. I get a bind service.
Yep, I would imagine that most. Well, actually, that's interesting. I wonder how does one specify that? Like, does everybody get the ability to bind anything? zrok overview. Ooh, I didn't know that was a thing. Let's go run zrok overview.
I knew about the status command, but not overview.
Oh, I should run zrok help.
Oh yeah, I get JSON.
All these commands. Access, admin, completion, config, console, controller, disable, enable, help, invite, overview, release, reserve, share, status, test. Oh, I went right past overview somehow. That's funny. Oh, is it sensitive? It says all the account details.
No,
I
I
don't
don't
know if I
think it
want
is.
to show that on the screen. Although I've already
It's fine.
I've already ruined that anyway.
It gives me it has the Ziti ID and it has the private share token, but
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what's a secret and not. So I err on this side of caution.
I've got a copy 2 running right
Maybe that's
now.
maybe
And
that token.
see, that's the match right
Maybe
there. That token is the share in the list of shares.
that share is the share in the list of shares.
Say share one more
Can
time.
you say that again?
See up here, I ran copy 2. So give me
Yeah.
that share token. And that's what shows up in the overview
Okay.
right there.
I see. Oh. Okay. I gotta remember. I gotta put myself into zrok mode there. So the share, it's a zrok share. I see.
And this
that's
ID right here shows up. This would be
That's likely the name of
service
your
ID, I
identity.
believe. We do get a single service by ID. Oops, I got an extra colon in there. There it is. So I have posture query bind. Let's see. There's the share token is the name of the service. You were right.
Yep, that makes sense. And so, do you also have? So you have bind permission, but not dial because you created it. So that is your share. You're gonna be the only one who can bind it.
Yep.
That makes perfect sense. And likely everybody has access to dial it. But that's interesting. Like I imagine just having how does that work? Like everybody must have access to dial the service, right? It seems like an inevitability. Otherwise, Xerox has to know that you're trying to dial it, has to solicit the endpoint, ask the endpoint if it can be dialed.
Well,
Like,
I don't
I
see
wonder how
dial
that.
permission on that identity.
Uh, well, it would be another identity, right? Well, actually, so you don't have dial. Yeah, go to another terminal window and access it.
To the paste from.
Yeah, yeah, access it from the place because you need dial identity. I mean, you'll need dial
Maybe
in order to
Xerox sets
access it.
that up like when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
run
that's what I
it.
want to see.
But of
Yeah, yeah,
course,
exactly.
it's just going to possibly create it and delete it instantaneously.
It could. So now if you show the
With
service,
services again. So would it show? Okay, yeah, now there's a second one. That's the bind, so it's actually the first one. Hang on, what am I doing here? There's only one service, but
yeah, with bind permission.
permissions bind. Yeah. It's only one.
Well, that's an interesting mystery. I don't quite know how that works. Which I actually kind of like, right? Like
You
it's
like a good mystery?
I'm enjoying the attempt at reconstructing, where the magic is and what Xerox is doing and how it's doing it. We are at the top of the hour, though,
I
so we probably should put a pin in it. I mean, I thought that was entertaining. I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked going through the code. It was shockingly,
such a short
I
program.
am remiss. I am remiss that
Yeah,
I
to
haven't
do
looked
that.
at it before, but it is absolutely such a short program.
Yeah.
That's really cool to be able to have direct private communication to somebody else, application to application, zero trust embedded in your applications with what 40 lines of code, something
Mhm.
ridiculous like that. So that's really powerful.
Yeah,
That's neat.
and to use like a free public backplane like Xerox, and to be able to say just all you need is this token, just this token, and
Yeah,
you can connect for as long as you need.
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
neat. That's pretty neat. All right, well, nice job, Michael Quigley. Thanks for tuning in and giving us all kinds of shout outs and answers throughout. That was great. Thanks, Ken, for participating. That was fun.
me
I
too.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, have
All
a good
right.
Friday.